Well, hello, it's Kathy and Rosie Vesperina, and in this video we are heading back home from Kilcare slash Putty Beach, but instead of going back the way that we came on the scenic road, we're going to take that road that I was very unsure about, Wards Hill Road, back, that has that 15km/h hairpin bend on the steep. I figured it would be okay going downhill. I could be completely wrong, rather than uphill. I was nervous about going uphill because I didn't think Rosie's 150cc, oops, excuse my hand, 150cc would be enough to get up the hill, so I went the different way. But I think that will be fine getting down the hill. It's just the 15km/h hairpin bend that might be a little bit tricky for me, but we'll see how we go. We had a lovely hike from Putty Beach along to Maitland Bay Beach and then back again, so I think about 8 or 9 kilometers all up, and it was terrific. Just slow and steady and a good chat, and great, and a little paddle in the water in the ocean when we got back. This intersection was a little tricky to get out of, and it took me quite a while, but here we are. One of the things that I mentioned in a couple of the other videos was that I was planning to do another course at Hart, the Hart Honda Rider Training Centre in St Ives, and so I've done that course. It was the skills training #1 course, so it's designed for people who have recently got their L's and want to learn or expand a little bit more on what they learned in their L's course. So generally people have, oh my gosh, there's my hand again, sorry. Generally people have had a little bit of experience on their L's and just want to expand on that. Obviously, I've moved past that stage on Rosie because I've got my P's, but I don't have any skills on the manual bike, so this was my opportunity to learn a little bit more. So we are turning left here onto Wards Hill Road. There is a note or a sign said that you can't go down here if you've got an articulating truck. So obviously because of that, I think 15km/h hairpin bend, any of those big trucks would be in a bit of trouble going down there. 50 kilometres along this section. The road is smooth and beautiful. I think it's new, but a bit further down it gets a little bit more bumpy and the speed limit ramps up. So back to the course. The course went from 8 a.m. in the morning to 11:30. There was a bit of theory at the beginning. There were 5 of us in the group, myself, the only female, and 4 other males, and they ranged in age from I think 17 to maybe mid-30s. And I think ranged in experience. One of them had done a lot of dirt biking, but not a lot of road riding, and some of them had only got their L's in November, so only been riding about 8 weeks, and others had kind of been riding for maybe 3 or 4 months. So we had a bit of a mixed bag. We started the course, as I said, with a bit of theory, and then we headed out into the small arena area where we just sort of refreshed ourselves on the learner basics. So just using the friction point, and here's our 15km/h hairpin bend. It doesn't look anywhere near as scary on the video, and the descent angle doesn't look anywhere near as scary as it was in real life. And this next corner is 25km/h, and that wasn't too bad. The cars in front were going fairly slow. There wasn't anybody behind me, so I didn't feel rushed at all. So it was quite good. I still don't think Rosie would be able to get up the other way, but maybe one day we'll try it. So we did some basics, so friction point and just walking the bike forward, and then obviously feet up on the pedals, and then we went out onto the bigger road that I think said before, they have a private road attached to the centre. To the left on this road, there's a big pub which is great for families, have a meal. There's a kids play area. Terrific. We're coming up to the T intersection now at Bensville, and we will turn right to take us to Kincumber. So we'll ride through Kincumber, through Green Point. We've been that way before, I think, in one of the other videos. So back to the course. We did some loops of the big course, a couple of those just to familiarise ourselves with it. You get up to third gear, I think, and then second for the corners, and then the instructor put some witches hats up, so we practiced the friction zone and slow riding in first gear, a little bit of throttle, a little bit of rear brake, and I didn't really have any trouble with the slow riding, which was great. Then we moved on to the hill starts from off. Holy dooly, Batman, that was tricky for me. I can't tell you how many times I stalled the bike trying to do the hill starts. It took me back to learning how to do hill starts in a manual car many years ago. So it was a lot. I can remember having just such a dummy spit when I was learning to drive a manual car. So I finally grasped the concept of using the foot brake, and remember, Rosie obviously doesn't have a foot rear brake. The rear brake for Rosie is on the left hand side there, and so using my feet to brake was a bit of a foreign concept on the bike, and it took me a while to use my foot on the brake, on the rear brake, a bit of throttle, letting out the clutch but not letting it out all the way, and that was the key to moving off from the hill start. But gosh, that took me a long time. I still stalled it a couple of times once I got the concept right in my head, but did much better. The other thing that we practiced was the quick stop, and I was not good at that either, and so it's a lot of things to be thinking about. It's the it's the rear brake, it's the front brake, it's the rolling off the throttle. That's a lot. That was a lot for me to think about, and I struggled with that a bit, but that's okay because now I know where my weak points are: the hill start, the quick stop, the hill start, and also using that rear brake. I'm still not clear about, generally when you're riding people that are fully licensed, how much do you use the rear brake and how much do you use the front brake. Obviously there are times when you can't physically use the front brake, but yeah, I'm still a bit confused about that. I did suggest to the instructor that maybe I should come back and do a private lesson. He said, no, maybe just come back and do this course a couple of times so you can get the hang of it, because you don't have a bike at home to practice on. So that's probably a good idea. I'll book into that course again a couple more times. But I really enjoyed it. The more I'm on a manual bike, the more comfortable it feels for me. Ironically, the Honda 125 that they gave me to ride was red, and so it matched my jacket, and so that was good juju and made me happy as well. not really important, but made me feel better. So that was the course, and so I'll book into some more. They don't have many available on the website at the moment. I think they're just waiting to refresh for 2026, but I'll book into a couple more. So we're riding still through that Bensville area now. This is a lovely road to ride. I really enjoy it. The houses that are along here are I call them little farmlets, because they are generally a house and they've got a little bit of breathing space around them, a little bit of land around them, and I think they're just lovely. Again, it's a bush area, so prone to bushfires, but everywhere on the Central Coast is really prone to bushfires because of the beautiful place that we live and the amount of national park and wild bush that we have. So it's the risks that you take, and obviously the insurance you have to take out to make sure you're covered. We're now heading into, I guess it's considered South Kincumber, and up at there's a little roundabout here, I think, and then a big roundabout at the top. And on our ride to Putty Beach, we came down this street, but we turned left instead of coming the way that I came. The sky looks a bit washed out today. It was a little bit overcast, humid but overcast. I guess the low cloud cover makes it more humid, so going into the ocean when we finished the walk was really lovely. I have a bit of a shark phobia, and so while my friend went in and had a little swim, I only went up to, I guess, my knees. If I can't see the bottom of the water, if the ocean's not clear, I'm a bit nervous about being in the ocean. And obviously I've got a bit of a phobia about the sharks. Things in the ocean seem to really like me, even though they don't like other people. As an example, once I was with some friends and we were in the Cinque Terre in Italy, and we went on a boat ride and out in the middle of the Mediterranean Ocean, and the captain of the boat said, "You can jump in the water here, you have no fear of the death like in Australia." And so he was trying to say, there's no sharks that are going to eat you. Out you plop. And so we all popped out, and there were lots of jellyfish in the water. None of my friends got stung. I got stung. And all of my friends know I have a bit of a phobia. So I was yelling out to them, "I've been stung by a jellyfish," and I swam back to the boat. But they all thought that I was joking, so they were all laughing at me and just continued on. And I went back to the boat, and they had to help get me back in the boat and put vinegar on it, and I had a big scar on my leg, ironically in the shape of a jellyfish, and that scar lasted for 2 years. And so it was a bit of an ongoing joke with my friends, because they could not believe that I got stung, and obviously I think they felt a little bit bad that they didn't believe me when I said I'd been stung. And we had jokingly said we would all get tattoos of jellyfish on our thigh to remember the adventure, but we never did, and the scars faded away now. But it just goes to prove that if there is something in the ocean that wants to eat you or sting you, even with a group of friends, they will get me, because I must have some kind of magnet for in the ocean critters. Hence, I have a fear of the sharks. There's also like stingray, brown stingray type critters that float on the bottom that you cannot even see until you step, and then they move, and that just freaks me out. So yeah, I'm not brave in the ocean. I can swim, but I can't swim very well, so if I'm out in the ocean on a holiday overseas, I will ask for a floaty just in case, and I don't care if I look silly. Better to be safe than sorry. So we are heading up through I was going to say Green Point, Kincumber. Sorry, we're not quite at Green Point yet. So to our left, if you go that way, is Yadalunga, that kind of area, and the little peninsula there. But we're going straight ahead towards Green Point. To our right is Kincumber Mountain and that whole area there where I sometimes go bushwalking with Matthew, my son. Christian school on our right as well. This section of the road is always really hard not to go too fast on. It's a 60-kilometre zone, but it's tricky not to go faster than that because it's such a smooth road and 2 lanes, and yes, you kind of feel like you want to go a little bit faster. So now this is a little odd because to our left is water, Brisbane water, and then kind of to the right, but a long way, is the ocean, because it's kind of the way that it's shaped. You've kind of got the water on both sides. How lucky am I to live in an area like this? We moved here 30-ish years ago, not necessarily because it was on the coast, but because they had a school for children with autism, and we needed that for our son Matthew, and so it was a great place to come and live. Now I've taken a little bit of a detour because I had to stop at the post office to pick up something, and so now I'm heading up Hill Street, which I don't usually ride up to get home. Usually I am one street to the left, and that one street to the left is that street that has where the new university campus is. So we're just moved one street to the right as we're heading north. There's a lot of units. Just about to hit that intersection. And turning into our street. So that was a lovely ride. Today I was worried I'd be a bit tired after doing the hike and riding there and then doing the hike and then coming back, but it was fine. I did feel like I was going to need a nana nap afterwards, so that's a good lesson. Well, thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.